shortest path problems, right? Two shortest path problems we have discussed. One is single source shortest path problem, that is discussed algorithm, and the second one is traveling salesperson problem. What is the main difference between the two? Can anyone tell me the difference between the two, single source and this traveling salesperson problem? What is the difference, ma? Hmm? Can you tell me the difference between the two problems? No? In single source shortest path problem, we are concentrating on finding the shortest distance from source to the destination, and we may or may not visit all the edges in case of a single source shortest path problem, right? But in when it comes to traveling salesperson problem, it is like Hamiltonian cycle. What do you mean by Hamiltonian cycle? If you remember the definition of Hamiltonian cycle and Euler circuit, in case of Euler circuit, you will concentrate on the edges. You have to visit all the edges, and starting vertex should be equal to the ending vertex. In case of Hamilton circuit, you must visit all the vertices such that the starting vertex should be equal to the ending vertex, right? Same with salesperson problem. The person start his tour at one place and has to cover all the places and should come back to the starting position, right? So I can compare traveling salesperson problem with the what we call Hamilton cycle. Is it clear, ma? So this is about the shortest path problems. Shall we move on to the next topic? Okay. Then today I'll discuss graph coloring problem. And one more point, ma, after this class, mostly by afternoon, I'll share a Google form with you regarding your vaccination certificate. If you have taken the vaccination, you please upload the documents in that form, ma. If you have taken first dose, you upload the first dose. If you have taken 2 doses, you please upload the 2 dose certificates of your vaccination, right? Try to complete it by today evening. Mostly I'll share the form in the afternoon. By 1 o'clock, I'll share with you. Okay, ma? Jahnavi, you please convey the same to the remaining, who did not attend the class. Okay? I have taken the first one. When you will get it? Okay, if you didn't get, okay, you just mention that I have taken the certificate. There, okay, there yes or no column will be there. If you have taken, you please click on yes. If not, no. Whenever you get the certificate, you can upload it in that. Okay? Okay. Then we'll move on to our topic, graph coloring problem. Do you know graph coloring problem? I think, do you have any idea regarding this graph coloring problem? So graph coloring is the process of coloring the vertices. It is the process of coloring the vertices. And the main, what is the condition to be satisfied is process of coloring the vertices such that no two adjacent vertices should have the same color. No two adjacent vertices should have the same color. This is what a graph coloring means. Clear? So, the minimum number of colors required to color a graph is known as chromatic number of the graph. It is known as chromatic number of the graph. Right? Graph coloring means it is the process of coloring the vertices such that no two adjacent vertices should have the same color. And how many minimum number of colors you require to color the graph? That is known as chromatic number of a graph. Here, suppose if you have a graph with a single edge, something like this is a graph with a single edge. Single edge means how many vertices you'll have? This edge will connect to two vertices, right? So if there is a graph with a single edge, can you tell me how many how many colors you require to color this graph G? How many colors you require? Two. Yes, very good. Two is, so because these two are adjacent, so you need one color for A, one color for B. So you can say that the chromatic number of a graph with a single edge is 2. X of G is the chromatic number of graph G. Suppose if you have a null graph, what do you mean by null graph? Null graph means a graph with no edges. A graph with no edge, or you can say a graph with an isolated vertex. How many colors you require, ma? What will be the chromatic number? Chromatic number is, so as there is only one vertex, one color is sufficient. Now, suppose if you have a complete graph Kn, what is the definition of complete graph? A vertex, every vertex should be adjacent with every other vertex in the graph. If n number of vertices are there, every vertex in the graph should be adjacent with remaining n minus 1 vertices. Now tell me, what is the chromatic number of a complete graph with n vertices? What is the chromatic number of a complete graph with n vertices? N. Why? Because every vertex is adjacent to every other vertices. Therefore, n different colors you require for a complete graph. Similarly, the chromatic number of a cycle graph. Cycle graph means the minimum number of vertices should be 3. N should be greater than or equal to 3. Why? Because you can have a cycle graph with a minimum number of 3 vertices, right? So the chromatic number of a cycle graph is 2 if n is even. The chromatic number of a cycle graph is 2 if n means number of vertices are even. It is 3 if n is odd. It is 3 if n is odd for cycle graph. Next, for wheel graph. For wheel graph, the number of vertices should be minimum 4. What do you mean by a wheel graph? To the cycle graph, if you add a universal vertex, you will get a wheel graph, right? So for a cycle graph, what is the chromatic number, ma? It is 2 if n is even, but you will get the wheel graph by adding a 1 to the cycle graph. So the chromatic number for a wheel graph is 3 if n is even, and it is 4 if n is odd. Clear? For a wheel graph, it is 3 for even number of vertices, it is 4 for odd number of vertices. Next point is, now you tell me what is the chromatic number of a complete bipartite graph. Complete bipartite graph means what? What do you mean by bipartite graph? When you divide the given set of vertices into two groups, the edges should contain one vertex in one edge, another vertex in another group. Clear? This is a bipartite graph. What do you mean by complete bipartite graph? Complete. The definition of complete graph should be applied to this bipartite graph to get a complete bipartite graph. You will divide the given set of vertices into two groups such that every edge will have one vertex in one group, the second vertex in another group, such that every vertex in the first group should be adjacent to every other vertex in the second group. Every vertex in the first group should be adjacent with every other vertex in the second group. Right? M represents the number of vertices in the first group. N represents the number of vertices in the second group. Now you tell me, what is the chromatic number of this complete bipartite graph? What is the chromatic number of a complete bipartite graph? Think and tell me. Hmm? How many minimum colors? M plus N? No. No, it's not M plus N. Any other answers? Yes, very good. 2 is Satvika. 2 are the minimum number of colors. Why? Because when you observe this complete graph, the edge, every edge will contain one end at the first group, another end in the second group, right? So if you color this with green and yellow, something like this, right? When you observe the second vertex, the second vertex, second edge also contains one edge in the first group, another edge in the second group. Like this, if you color all the vertices in the first group with the same color and all the vertices in the second group with some other color, then how many colors you require? 2 colors. Suppose if I color all the first group vertices with green, then let us see whether you have the adjacent vertices with same color. No. Why? Because all the edges are having one edge in the one group, another edge in the second group, right? So when you observe this, no edge in the first group are adjacent. If you have the adjacent vertices like this, then edges like this, then the adjacent vertices will have the same color. But here, this is not there in complete bipartite graph. Therefore, you can use one color to group all the vertices in the first group, another color to all the vertices in the second group. Therefore, minimum number of colors you require are 2. Is it clear now? Is it clear now why it is 2 for a complete bipartite graph? Suppose in a given graph, if any vertex is having a degree as 2, if a vertex is having a degree of 2. Now tell me, what is the maximum number of colors you require to color the vertices which are adjacent to this V? In a graph, there is a vertex V with degree as D. Then what is the maximum number of colors you require to color all the vertices which are adjacent to V? Do you got my question? Can you tell me the answer? A vertex V is there with degree as D. How many colors you require to color all the vertices which are adjacent to this vertex V? How many you require now? It's very simple, ma. As the degree of a vertex is V means what? It is adjacent with how many vertices? It is adjacent with D vertices. The degree is D means D number of edges are incident with that vertices. Edges are there means corresponding vertices will be there. So the degree is D means there will have D number of vertices. How many colors you require? Maximum number of colors you require to color all these D vertices? It is D only. Next, how many color? What is the chromatic number of a triangle? Triangle means what? Triangle means it is a cycle graph with 3 number of vertices. What is the chromatic number for a cycle graph? It is 2 if n is even, It is 3 if n is odd. Here, what is the n value? 3. That means it is odd. So, the chromatic number of a triangle is 3. For a triangle, the chromatic number is 3. Clear? There is a graph G and the chromatic number of the graph is less than or equal to 1 plus delta of G, where this delta of G represents largest degree of the vertex in the graph. Largest degree of a vertex in the graph. Clear? Similarly, x of G is greater than or equal to 1 plus, sorry, greater than or equal to n by n minus delta of G, where it is the smallest degree of a vertex in the graph and n represents number of vertices in the graph, right? So using these two formulas, you can know the maximum and minimum limit or maximum and minimum number of vertices you require. Maximum number and minimum number of vertices you require to color a graph that is known using these two. Clear? So x of G, you can write it as n by n minus delta of G and 1 by, sorry, 1 plus delta of G. Clear, ma? So this is the minimum and maximum range of the graph. So please take down these two formulas. It is important. These two formulas you take down. So this is the minimum number of the vertices. These are the maximum number of vertices you require to color a graph. Finished? Now we'll see some examples on this graph coloring. Find the chromatic number of the graph given below. Find the chromatic number of the graph. The graph is a graph is given like this. Find the chromatic number. Okay? So one way is, if you know the minimum and maximum range, then it is easy for you to know the chromatic number, right? So how to know the minimum and maximum range? Using the two formulas just now I gave you, right? So this will give you the maximum range and this will give you the minimum range, right? So for that, what you have to do, first you need to know the degree of the vertices. What is the degree of A? Degree of A is 2, degree of B is 3, C is again 3, D is 3, E is 3, F is 4. So the degree of F is having a maximum degree and the vertex A is having the minimum degree, right? So you just substitute in this, then you will get what is the maximum degree? 1 plus 4. So x of G is less than or equal to 5. Similarly, you find the minimum value for chromatic number. It is n. What is the value of n? How many vertices you have here? 6 by 6 minus minimum is minimum degree of the graph is 2. Therefore, I can write it as x of j is greater than or equal to 6 by 4, that is greater than or equal to 3 by 2, and it is written as 1.5. 1.5 means you can consider, as you are considering the count of the color, so you can consider 2. Therefore, I can write as 2 less than or equal to x of g less than or equal to 5. So the minimum colors may be 2 and the maximum colors may be 5. So this color may require either 2, 3 or 4 or 5. So what is the correct number that you need to identify, right? So one way of finding the chromatic number three. Why? Because triangle means it is a cycle graph 3. It is a cycle graph with 3 number of vertices, right? So for a cycle graph, you know that you require minimum of the chromatic number for a cycle graph, you know that it is 3, right? Therefore, whenever in a given graph, if you find a triangle, then minimum number of vertices here. Therefore, you can change this into like this range can be changed. Therefore, you can eliminate this number. Now, either 3 or 4 or 5 number you require to color this graph. Let me try to give 3 colors. If you are able to do the graph coloring with 3 colors, then it is correct. Let me check. Suppose if I color the vertex A with some color blue, as B and C are adjacent with A, they should be colored with different colors. They should be colored with different color. So A is adjacent to B. So you must color it with different color. Let us suppose if I consider the same color for B and C. Why? Because these two are not adjacent. Right? Let me check which color I can use to color the vertex D. You have to use some other color other than B. Why? Because other than green. Why? Because it is adjacent. So you can use some like yellow color. Now, which color I can use for this? I can use for this as it is adjacent to green and yellow. So you have to use a red color. Clear? Now, which can be used for this F? As this F is adjacent to green and yellow. Right? So, one second. It is adjacent to green and yellow. Therefore, you should not use green, you should not use red, you should not use yellow. So I can use blue. Okay? We will check whether it is correct. So whenever I have considered the same color for B and C, we got this answer. Right? How many colors we got? We got the number of colors as 4. But as there is a triangle, there is a chance to get minimum of 3 colors. Therefore, I have to go for another possibility. Instead of this green, let me consider a new color yellow for C. In the previous case, I have considered the same color for B and C. Instead of that, if you color this B and C with two different colors, then obviously this F has should be colored with a color other than green and yellow. Let us suppose if it is colored with the same color, which I have used for A. Now, D can be colored with yellow. Why? Because it is not adjacent to C. Similarly, E can be colored with green because it is not adjacent to B. When you color like this, no two adjacent vertices are having the same color. And how many minimum colors you have used? 3. Therefore, you can say that the chromatic number is previously got number definition is what? Minimum number of colors required is the chromatic number. Therefore, chromatic number for this given graph is 3. So, you have to consider all the possibilities. After this, I'll explain you another algorithm with by using that if there is a complex graph. Suppose if you have a graph with some 10 number of vertices, then it is very difficult to check all the possibilities, right? If 10 number of vertices or 15 number of more than 10 vertices are there in a graph, then it is difficult to check all the possibilities like what you did for this simple graph. That is the reason how to know the chromatic number by using one algorithm that I'll explain after this. But as of now, we are checking all the possibilities. Is it clear, ma? Is this example what I explained now clear for you all? Okay. Shall I erase it? LF ముందు గారికి ఎందుకు తీసుకున్నా Now I'll give you one graph. You find the chromatic number. Now you take this graph and let me know what is the chromatic number of this graph. So, mommy, what is the chromatic number of this graph? 3. Yes, very good. 3 is the chromatic number. Why? Because first you have to identify the minimum range and maximum range. Whenever there is a triangle in the graph, first try to check with 3 colors whether you are able to color the graph with 3 or not. So let me check with 3 colors. Let me color this red, A with red. Then these two should be colored with some other color, right? Suppose if I have colored this with the green, then which is adjacent to B? C is adjacent, so it should be colored with some other color. And it is also adjacent to G also. This B is adjacent to G. Therefore, C and G should be colored with a color other than G. They should be colored with a color other than G. Let us suppose if I color this with a new color, you can color this G with red. Why? Because A is not adjacent. Right? Now, this F is adjacent to G and A. So you should not use red. And it is also adjacent to green. So it should not use red. But it is not adjacent to C. So you can use a blue color here. Clear? Now, this E is adjacent to green. Sorry, it is adjacent to F, G and C. That means you cannot use blue or red. I can use green because it is not adjacent here. Now coming to D, as it is adjacent to blue and green, so you can color it with green. So when you observe this red, green and blue, so the chromatic number is 3. 3 colors you have used to color this graph. Clear, ma? So in this way, manually you can check how many colors you require. But if the given graph is complex, then it is very difficult to check manually. That is the reason a new algorithm called Welch-Powell algorithm is used to color the graph. Welch-Powell algorithm. Clear? Have you taken this? You take this, then we'll discuss Welch-Powell algorithm. Welch-Powell algorithm. So if the graph is a complex graph with more number of vertices, then you can use this algorithm, right? Now first we'll see what are the steps we have to use. First step is you need to find the degrees of all the vertices. Find the degrees of all the vertices in the given graph. That is the first step. Second step is arrange the vertices in the decreasing order of their degrees. In the decreasing order of their degrees. Take down this point, ma. Decreasing order of their degrees. This is the second point. Now, third point is color the first vertex with a new color. Color the first vertex in the series with a new color. Next point is, I'll explain in detail with example. First, you take down the points. Next point is, you move down the list and color the vertices which are not adjacent, to the colored vertex, to the colored vertex with the same color. So you move down the list. You have arranged the vertices in an order, right? So you move down the list and identify the vertices which are not adjacent to this colored vertex. They can be colored with the same color what we have used in the third step. Clear? Next, fourth step is to be repeated until all the vertices are colored. Repeat the step 4 until all the vertices are colored. Clear? First you take down these 5 steps, then we'll see with example. Do you have any lab practice sessions from the next week? Did you get any information regarding math? Are you going to have any offline classes? Finished? Okay. Have you taken all these points? Now we'll see one example. All of you take down this graph. Yes, take down this graph, all of you. Using Welch-Powell algorithm, we'll see how to color this graph. Did I conduct any quiz on this 5th unit for you? Have you written any quiz on this 5th unit as of now? Have you taken the graph? So what is the first step? First step is identify, find out the degrees of all the vertices. You find out the degrees of all the vertices. 11 vertices were given. Find out the degrees of all the vertices and arrange the degrees in the decreasing order of their degrees. You do first 2 steps now. First step is you have to find the degrees of all the vertices. What is the degree of A? 2. 1 and 2. B. The degree of B is again 2. C is, it is adjacent with only 1. Next D is 1, 2, 3, 4. E. E is adjacent with 1 and 2. F, it is adjacent with again 1 and 2. G is 1, 2, 3. H is, where is H? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I 1, 2, 3. J 1, 2, 3. K is 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Now you first step is you have find out the degrees of all the vertices. Now what is the second step? You need to arrange the vertices in the decreasing order of their degrees. Decreasing order. Which vertex is having the maximum degree? The vertex 4, sorry, H, with a value as 5. So H is the first vertex in the list. What is the next minimum? Next value? 4. Which vertices are having 4? 2 vertices, K and D. Both K and D are having the degree as 4. After 4, 3. 3 vertices, G, I, J. These are having the degree as 3. After 3, 2. 4 vertices, A, B, E, F are having the degree as 4. A, B, E, F. After 2, 1. Only one vertex C is having a degree as 1, right? Now we have arranged all the vertices in the decreasing order of their degrees. Now what is the third step? Color the first vertex with a new color. Color the first vertex with a new color. Move down the list. Move down the list and color the vertices which are not adjacent with the colored vertex with the same color. So what is the first vertex? H. So color the first vertex with a new color. Let me color H with R. So H can be colored with R. Now move down the list. Move down the list. Identify the vertices which are not adjacent with the colored vertex. Which is the colored vertex? H is the colored vertex, right? That this can be colored with the same color. Now move down the list. Next is H. K. So here K is adjacent with H. So you cannot color K. K is adjacent. Next comes D. Is D adjacent with H? No, D is not adjacent with H. When you move down the list, if there is a vertex which is not adjacent with the colored vertex, it can be colored with the same color. So D can be colored with the same color, red. Now again move down the list. Next comes G. Now you have to check whether this G is adjacent to both H and D. Both H and D. Why? Because those two are colored vertices now. So when it comes to G, it is adjacent to H. So you cannot color. Next comes I. It is again adjacent to H. Next J is again adjacent. A is also adjacent to H. B. B is adjacent to, it is not adjacent to H but is adjacent to D. So it cannot be colored in the first step itself. Next comes E. E is not adjacent to H and not adjacent to D also. So E can be colored with the same color red. Next comes F. Here F is adjacent to E. F is adjacent to V. So F cannot be colored with red. Next comes C. C is adjacent to H. No. Is it adjacent to D? Yes, it is adjacent. So it cannot be colored. Right? Now the step 4, whatever we did now, it should be repeated until you color all the vertices. Until all the vertices are colored, you have to repeat this step. Okay. Now repeat the same step. Which are colored, you please write them as it is. Next, now this is your first vertex, right? Color the first vertex with a new color. Now let me color K with green. Color the first vertex with a new color. Move down the list. Whichever the vertices are not adjacent to this colored vertex. Now which is your colored vertex? K. K can be colored with the same color. So now you have to compare with K, right? Now, what is the, when you move down the list, next uncolored vertex is G. Is G adjacent to K? Is G adjacent to K? Yes, it is adjacent. So you cannot color it with the same color. Is I adjacent to K? Is I adjacent to K? No, it is not adjacent to K. So it can be colored. I can be colored with the same color which you have used for K. Is J adjacent to K? Yes, J is adjacent. So it cannot be colored. Once. Now you need to check whether the remaining uncolored vertices are adjacent to both K and I. Now next is A. Is A adjacent to I or K? No, it is not adjacent. So you can color it with green. Now you need to check whether this B is adjacent to K, I and J. Is here B is adjacent to A, so you cannot color it. Next comes F. Is F adjacent to K, I, A? You need to check. It is not adjacent to K, it is not adjacent to I, it is not adjacent to A. So you can color it with green. F can be colored with A. Next is T. Is C adjacent to A? No, it is not adjacent to I, not adjacent to K, not adjacent to F. So it can also be colored with green. Clear? Now repeat the same step until all the uncolored vertices are colored. So there is no change in this. Next, which is the first uncolored vertex? J. First color vertex should be colored with a new color. Let me color it with white. G, color G with white. Now, what is the next uncolored vertex? J. Is J adjacent to G? Is J adjacent to G? No. So it can be colored with the same color, yellow. Next comes B. Is B adjacent to G or J? You need to check. G is not adjacent to G and it is not adjacent to J also. So you can color it with white. Right? Now all the vertices are colored. All the vertices are colored. Therefore, what is the chromatic number of this graph? How many colors you have used? Red, green, yellow. Therefore, the chromatic number is 3. So, like this, whenever there is a complex graph given, if you are asked to find the chromatic number, then you can use Welch-Powell algorithm by using the degrees of the vertices. Is it clear now? Have you all understood this? Degree of K is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, sorry. Okay, whatever it is, not a problem. Both H and K are having the same degree, no? So you can write any one, either H or K. Okay? 7E. So is everyone understand this Welch-Powell algorithm? How to find the chromatic number using the Welch-Powell algorithm? If you have any doubts, you please let me know. Anyway, I'll discuss one more example. And you didn't answer my question, Ma. I asked you whether you have attempted any quiz in 5th unit as of now. Did I conduct any quiz in 5th unit? After that, I'll start planar graphs. Make it fast. Let me know if you have finished. Only 30. Okay. Okay, then I'll conduct one more, ma. Maybe in the next class. Maybe on Friday I'll conduct one more. We'll give you assignment problems after completion of this fifth unit, ma. More 1.5 class I require. I need to complete this. Finished, ma? Shall I erase it? Shall I erase it, ma? I'll explain one more example, ma. 72. Because in the same, if I draw the same diagram, same graph for one more time and draw the table for one more time, it will be a waste of time. I'll explain one more example. I'll explain. Is it okay? Or if you want me to explain the same one, I'll do. 72. You want me to explain the same problem or one more? Okay. Now take down the graph, all of you. Now you take down the graph, ma. So what is the first step? First, you have to find the degrees of all the vertices. Let me find the degrees first. What is the degree of A? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Degree of B. 1, 2, 3. C. 1, 2, 3. D. 1, 2, 3, 4. E. 1, 2, 3, 4. Listen carefully, all of you. F. 1, 2, 3, 4. G 1, 2, 3. Right? So now I have calculated the degrees of all the vertices. Next, what you need to do? You need to arrange the vertices in the decreasing order of their degrees. Which vertex is having the maximum degree? The vertex A with the maximum value as 5. Next value is 4. Here 3 vertices are having the degree 4. D, E, F. Right? So after A comes D, E, F. Next value is 3. 2 vertices B and C are having, no sorry, 3 vertices B, C, G are having the degree, right? So now we have arranged all the vertices in the decreasing order of their degrees. Next step is what? Color the first vertex with a new color. Let us suppose I have colored A, the first vertex with a new color. Move down the list and identify the vertices which are not adjacent to this colored vertex with the same color. Move down the list. D. Here D is adjacent, so you cannot color it with red. E. E is also adjacent to A. Next comes F. F is also adjacent to A. B is also adjacent. Next comes C. C is again adjacent. Next comes G. Here G is not adjacent, right? G is not adjacent to A. Therefore, you can color it with the same color which you have used for the first vertex. So, A and G can be colored with red. Now, repeat the same step until all the uncolored vertices are colored. So, A and G are already colored. Now, consider this vertex D as a new vertex. Color the first vertex with a new color. So, let me color D with G, the green color, right? Now, move down the list. Identify the vertices which are not adjacent to this colored vertex and they can be colored with the same color. What about E? Is E adjacent to D? Yes, E is adjacent, so you cannot color it. Next comes F. F is also adjacent to D. B. B is not adjacent. So when you observe this, B is not adjacent. So B can be colored with the same color vertex. That means B can also be colored. Now you need to check whether the C is adjacent to D or B. Is C adjacent to D or B? Yes, C is adjacent to D. So you cannot color it. Now repeat the same step. Now the first vertex is E. You can color the first vertex with a new color. So E can be colored with yellow. Now move down the list. Whichever the vertices are not adjacent to this, they can be colored. But what about F? Is F adjacent to E? No, it is not adjacent. So you can color it with the same color. What about C? C. C. Is C adjacent to E? No. Is C adjacent to F? Yes. So it cannot be colored with the same. Right? Now repeat the same step because there is one more vertex which is uncolored. So consider this as a first vertex. Color it with a new color. So C can be colored with some blue color. You can color C with blue. Move down the list, but there are, after C, you don't have any vertices which are uncolored. So you can stop the procedure. Now, what is the chromatic number? How many colors you have used? Red, green, yellow, blue. Therefore, the chromatic number is 4. So when you observe this diagram, the graph, you just cross check whether you have colored the same vertices, adjacent vertices with a different or not. These two are adjacent, different color. Adjacent, different. Adjacent, different. Like that you can check. Right? So this is about Welch-Powell algorithm. Still, if you have any doubts, you please let me know. Is it clear for you all? 72, did you understand, ma? 72, అర్థమైందా? All of you take down this one. E and C are not adjacent. Yes, my E and C are not adjacent. Did I do any mistake? 72? I didn't get you, my. You said E and C are not adjacent. Yes, they are not adjacent. But the C is adjacent to F, no? C is adjacent to F. That is the reason I didn't color it with yellow. Take down. If you are finished with this, we'll start planar graph concept. audible, ma? I lost my connection in the middle. Am I audible now? Okay. Next, we'll start planar graphs. Laptop background. Planar graphs. A graph is said to be a planar graph. A graph is said to be a planar graph. If it can be drawn on a plane such that no edges cross each other. No edges cross each other. A graph is said to be planar such that if there are no any edge crossing. Something like edge crossing is something like it. If there are no edge crossings, then we'll call it as a planar graph. And this point, edge crossing point, is known as crossover. The edge crossing point is known as crossover. Okay. Opposite to this is non-planar graph. If a graph is drawn such that if there are edge crossings in that, then we'll say that it is a non-planar. If there are edge crossings, then it is non-planar. If there are no edge crossings, then it is a planar graph. See an example graph. Let us suppose if a graph is given like this. Is there are any edge crossings in that? So when you observe this graph, there are no any edge crossings. Therefore, you can say that it is a planar graph. It is a planar graph. Suppose if a graph is like this. Do we have any edge crossings, ma? Here, no edge crossings or no crossovers are there. Therefore, it is also a planar graph. Clear? Now, assume that the graph is like this. What type of graph it is, ma? What type of graph it is? It is a complete graph with 4 vertices, right? Now, is there are any edge crossings in a complete graph with 4 vertices? Do we have any edge crossings in a complete graph? Do we have any edge crossings, ma? Yes, there is an edge crossing in a complete graph, right? One second. Here, this is your complete graph K4, right? So in this K4, you have an edge crossing. This is your crossover point. These two edges are crossing each other at this point. So it is a crossing. When there is a crossover or when there are edge crossings, we'll say that it is a non-planar. But before you decide that it is a non-planar graph, we will try to redraw the diagram such that there are no edge crossings. We'll try to redraw the diagram such that there are no edge crossings. If you are unable to redraw the given graph such that there are no edge crossings, then you can say that it is a non-planar graph. So, right? So, how many we have, ma? 6 edges we are having here, right? Here you are having 6 edges, right? One edge is from A to D. And now, when you draw this edge from B to C, here you will have a crossover. That is the reason I can redraw the edge B to C from like this. I can draw this edge instead of from here to here. I can redraw this edge in this manner. So now when you observe this, do we have any crossovers? There are no any edge crossings. Therefore, you can say that a complete graph with 4 vertices is a planar graph because there are no crossings when you redraw the graph. Is it clear, ma? Is it clear? Yes, have you understood? Okay. Edge. Planar graph definition is there should not be any edge crossings. No edge crossing should be there. Right? Non-planar means opposite to this. There exist edge crossings. Suppose if a complete graph is given, complete graph means, every vertex should be adjacent to every other vertex in the graph. If a complete graph with 4 vertices, that is K4 is given, right? Now, when you observe this K4, here you have a crossover. These two edges, AD edge and BC edge are crossing with each other at this point. This is known as crossover. So when there are edge crossings, we'll say that it is, when there are edge crossings, we'll say that it is non-planar graph. So by observing this diagram, you can say that it is non-planar, but that is not correct. Whenever there are a graph is given with edge crossing, you try to redraw the edges in the graph such that there should not be any edge crossings. If you are unable to redraw the given graph without any edge crossings, then you say that it is a non-planar graph. Just by observing the given graph directly itself, you don't say that it is a non-planar, right? So what I am doing here is, I am trying to redraw the complete graph K4, right? So how many edges we have? These are the 4 edges. One more edge is from A to D. Or there is an edge from B to C and one more edge is from A to D. If you draw one more edge, this edge, here you have a crossover, right? To avoid that, I can redraw the edge from A to D. I can redraw the edge from A to D like this, right? So now this is the edge from A to D. So when you draw this edge like this, do we have any crossovers? Is there any point where the edges are crossing each other? No, there are no edge crossings. Therefore, you can say that a complete graph K4 is a planar graph. Clear now? Is it clear now? అర్థమైందమ్మా ఇప్పుడు? Okay. Consider one more example graph. Now consider this graph. So when you observe this graph, here we have edge crossings. 3 edge crossings were there, right? So you may, you have to, what you can do is you try to redraw this diagram and check whether you have edge crossings or not. Then only you decide whether it is a planar or non-planar, right? Let me redraw this diagram. How many edges we have now? 7 edges are there, right? So A, B, C, D, and here you have E, right? Now when I draw these edges, you have an edge crossing. So that is the reason Instead of that, I'll try to redraw in another way. One edge is E7. With E7, you don't have any edge crossings. With E5 and E6 only, you are getting edge crossing, right? E6 is not. E6 is the edge from D to E. So instead of drawing the edge from like this, I can draw the edge like this. This is your E7. Sorry, E6. Okay. Now one more edge is from C to E, which is E5. If you draw E5, from here you will get an edge crossing. So to avoid that, I am redrawing the edge like this. Right? Now when you observe this, do we have any edge crossings? Are there any edge crossings, ma'am? No, you don't have any edge crossings. No edge crossings were there. Therefore, you can say that the graph is planar. The graph is a planar graph. Clear? Now consider this graph. Here in this graph also we have many edge crossings were there, right? There are many edge crossings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 edge crossings were there, right? Therefore, I'll try to redraw this and I'll check whether we have any. So, you can draw the edge from B to A without any edge crossing. A to C can also draw. Now still we have to draw 1, 2, 3, 4 edges, right? Let me draw the edge from E to C such that you don't have any edge crossing. Next step, you just observe I'm drawing the edges inside this box. Two edges you have. One is B to D, E to C. E to C I have written. If you draw this B to D like this, you will have an edge crossing. So that is the reason I am drawing B to D like this. Clear? This is one edge. Still we have two more edges. One is from A to E, one is from A to D. If you draw A to E and A to D like this, you will have an edge crossings. Like this, if you draw, we have an edge crossing, right? So I'll draw A to D like this. What is the one more edge? A to E. A to. So if you draw A to D like this, we have an edge crossing. Is there any other way to draw the edge from A to E? You can draw from this side. If you draw from this side also, here you will be edge crossing, right? Edge crossing is there in the graph. Therefore, given graph is a non-planar. There is no other way to redraw these edges such that without there should not be any edge crossings. Right? So this is the crossover point. Therefore, this given graph is a non-planar graph. Is it clear, ma? Next is critical planar. Critical planar graph. A graph is said to be critical planar if the given graph is a non-planar graph, if the given graph is a non-planar graph, and if its subgraph is a planar graph. If the given graph is non-planar, but if its subgraph is planar, then we can say that the graph is a critical planar graph. A this, we have concluded that this graph, whatever I am drawing now, is a non-planar graph, right? Just now we have seen that it is a non-planar graph, right? If a graph is non-planar and if its subgraph is planar, so try to draw the subgraph. A graph will have more than one subgraph. Let me draw one subgraph. Right? So this is one subgraph, right? So what is this graph? It is K4. So you try to redraw this K4. Actually, we have already concluded that K4 is a planar graph, right? So if I redraw this planar, we came to know that it is a planar graph. Why? Because there are no any edges. Given graph is non-planar, but its subgraph is planar. If these conditions satisfied, then you can say that the given graph is a critical planar graph. Is it clear, ma? If a given graph is non-planar and if its subgraph is planar, then we can say that the graph is a critical planar graph. Clear? Have you all understood, ma? So this is about today's session. In the next class, so if the graph is very simple, then you can easily identify. You will try to redraw it and will check for the edge crossings. But if a complex graph is given, then it is very difficult to check whether there are any crossings or not, and it is difficult to redraw the graph. That is the reason there is one more algorithm called elementary reduction algorithm. By using that, we can check the planarity of the graph. How to check that? We'll see it in the next class.